my name is Scott Reid, and I'm the head of creative for Insane Championship Wrestling.
And what are the kind of sort of roles have you had in ICW throughout the years before your current?
Everything. I've been a video editor, I've been a cameraman at points, I've assisted with creative, I've talent liaison, I've done, if there's a job that's been done in ICW other than wrestle, I've done it.
Yeah, nice one. So, kind of, you've been in a while then.
Mm-hmm.
So, 12 years you were saying off camera before, weren't you? So, in that 12-year gap, obviously, the ICW has gone through quite a lot. It's been, what, that'll be like 2012 around time.
The very original show was 2007, sorry.
2007.
Yeah, and then it stopped for 2 years, and the proper ICW run was 2009.
Right. Yeah. So, in that time then, in that however many years, like 14, 15 years, how have you seen ICW develop as a company? And kind of, there's been a lot of challenges throughout that time. There's been,
a lot. I mean, like, just in terms of the scale of the show, we still have footage of the original shows, and they're very much a ring in a room, house lights up, and that was it. The talent getting better, like Scotland has got a great kind of lineage of talent, but it wasn't always the case. There was a period where the talent wasn't great. And then as ICW kind of took itself more professionally, it was at a time where wrestlers were treating themselves more professionally, they were getting better, they were intentionally trying to be bigger than just another wrestler on the street. So there's that, and then when Triple G Music and Triple G Events got involved, and that's when production really opened up. The owner of Triple G Events, Duncan Gray, who's now the owner of Wrestle Events and Capsize, he's a gig promoter by trade. He's one of the biggest alternative gig promoters in Glasgow. So he's access to the venues, the kit, the screens. So when you see the big scale ICW events, that's his work, that's his know-how doing that. And by doing that, it opened up to bigger venues, which meant allowing for bigger name talent to be brought in, and just so on and so forth. So really, I've seen it go from the smallest big venue in Glasgow to literally one of the top arenas in the entire world. Yeah. So I've seen it all go up ways. On the other side, I've seen it. I've seen the down period of COVID and speaking out and all that stuff, and I've seen it kind of sit there. But now I'm watching it grow. We were back in Newcastle tonight for the first time in 2 years. Place is sold out. In fact, just technically sold it out twice because we had a ticket allocation. That sold out. We put more on. They're now gone. So I think ICW and British wrestling is going up again, which is fantastic.
You mentioned just briefly COVID and speaking out, and probably come back to them. But obviously another thing that kind of, we saw that boom in the mid-2010s. You had like the Hydro show, and you had like British wrestling in general kind of peak a bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to say peak, that implies, but you know what I mean, like a big kind of up period.
Mm-hmm.
We know about COVID, and we know about the kind of, as you mentioned, speaking out. Do you think like any other factors that contribute to kind of like obviously coming out? COVID was obviously being the biggest inevitably, and like maybe the WWE coming in at all, or was that a bit of a plus possibly? Like, because people say different things.
A lot of people have got particularly the WWE thing. Yeah. A lot of people have got very different opinions.
Yes.
On it. For me, I don't see that it was a massive. I don't see it was done to intentionally do harm. A lot of people see it as WWE came in and they tried to ruin it. They didn't. They came in, they saw an area that was hot, and they tried to get involved. And what they done was they signed all the best talent. The point of the talent doing shows at ICW is to eventually get signed. So WWE done what the talent wanted them to do, which was give them jobs. So I will never be angry at WWE for signing. That was the point. They trained for 12 years to get signed, and they got it. Fantastic. Did it affect the talent that were available in shows? Absolutely. We were lucky because before COVID, we still had access to these people. Limited, but we still had it. I think COVID was really the big factor, because when the last show we done before COVID, it was a great show, but we were actually due to be in Newcastle again, the next show. I had Noam Dar in that show. I had Trent Seven booked for that show. I had big name Kenny Williams, Mark Coffey. That show was packed with WWE talent, so I had access to them. In COVID hit, we never done the show. I think the big thing that I've noticed is just getting people to leave the house, getting them back into venues. I think obviously speaking out was a factor as well. There's a trust issue within wrestling where people don't want to go back to certain shows with certain people, and I understand that. But I like to think for the most part, most of those people were put to one side and left away. But it's kind of hard to say to the casual fan, trust us again. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, independent wrestling, nobody's contracted.
Yeah.
So when it's, the company's done this, no, certain people done certain things, and they were told to leave and they left.
Yeah.
Great. But it's hard to put that message out to people and go, you can come back, it's accessible again. But again, I feel like it's getting there. I feel like the first batch of fans came back, and then it's okay. We've seen them go back, now we can maybe go. So, I think for me, the big factor was COVID. It terrified the world, it slowed everything down. Any momentum that any company had just died. It was gone. So it's just been a fighting battle just to try and.
Touching on there, speaking out, how has that have you changed your policies, regarding trust, especially with not just the fans but with talent? Is there any policies in place that have came in from that?
Yeah, I mean, right for the word go, we were, there's a whole bunch of talent that were told to not come back. But with that, it's more just like keeping a better eye on what's happening. Constantly being accessible to talent, as far as, especially for us as well, with a new company with myself, Thomas, Jester, and Adam and Duncan. Anybody who comes in, just letting them know, this is where our office is in the asylum, this is our phone numbers, companies about anything. They have companies about things, nothing that would, be a massive issue. But, I've had conversations with people that I wouldn't have had 5 years ago, where people just going, I'm feeling uncomfortable with this, I'm not happy about things, and other places, just like coming to us and being more accessible. But that's from us, that's going, please come to us and tell us, we don't want you to feel like you can't do these things. Unfortunately, like I say, nobody's contracted, nobody's set to, you can put codes of conduct out, which we have done in the company, but nobody's set to a contract of you have to do this, this, and this. So really, it's just your job to keep an eye on things, try and nip things in the bud immediately as soon as they happen. But also keep an eye on who we're booking in terms of going to other talent and going, I want to book this person. I don't know them that well. Is there any heat? Yeah, they're not too popular down here. And then I've got to make a judgment call and go, maybe I'll not book them. Maybe I'll keep them off. Or conversely, listen to the talent who I trust their opinion on and go, and this person's really good. It'll cause you no drama. So it's really just a kind of, so being a teacher essentially, you just kind of have to keep an eye on everybody and make sure everything's going well. And in terms of the fans, the trust there was just trying to be as, not trying to kind of pull the wool over their eyes or anything. Statements were put out. They saw the people who weren't brought back. That's that level of trust. It's like, here's what you expect of us, and always try to maintain that as much as possible. It's hard sometimes because, there's always someone who's got an issue with somebody. There's always somebody who doesn't like somebody backstage. It's how you mediate that. Is this a genuine issue, or is this two grown men having an argument that something doesn't matter? Again, you just try and keep it top of it as much as possible.
So, coming on to ICW specifically, and about British wrestling generally. So, what is it you think about ICW? What is it that stands out? What is the hardcore thing, 18 plus? But what is in terms of the spirit of it? What is it?
I think it's really just I think what makes it stand out is, from a fan point of view, is it's a bit of everything. I think that's always been the case, whether it was Mark Dallas's ICW or this ICW. It's always been the free ring circus. It's something Dallas always put forward, which is, if you like comedy, there's some comedy. If you don't like that, there's a death match. If you don't want that, there's some great wrestling. There's some tag team stuff. There's keeping the show mixed. And it's something we always try and do at the training school as well, to try and tell people, if there's 10 great technical wrestlers, don't be the 11th. Be the great comedy guy. Find a role that nobody else is doing. So when it comes to a show, that's how I try and like to book as much as possible, is just mixing up. And I think the fans respond to that in terms of, you're not expecting just deathmatch fans to come. You can get everybody in the door, and hopefully they see something they've never seen and they like it. I think for the wrestlers, I think they've seen what ICW's done in the past. They've seen the Hydro, they've seen that stuff, and I think they come here kind of thriving to get to those levels again. And I think that kind of spurs talent on to go, we're not just doing a random wrestling show here. We're putting on a production, we're putting on a live event. Again, Triple G Music and Duncan Gray, he's a gig promoter. He puts on heavy metal gigs. There's a lot of influence for that for us. It's like, it's an experience. It's not just, let's sit and watch wrestling. Let's come and get a pint and have a good time with our pals and meet people. And I think that kind of ropes people in, doing more than just going to a wrestling show, having a night out.
So it's sort of like how important would it then be to like foster a community from that? You
Yeah.
know, getting those crowds to come in, but then to keep coming every time, and these people to sort of connect.
Yeah. I think with that is you're just hoping the talent do their job. The talent is the first and foremost. I can write the best show in the world on paper. The talent don't execute that. The show's dead in the water. So I need to trust in the talent that I book. So again, we have a lot of guys from our training school right now. They're taught by Jack Jessup, who's the current heavyweight champion. He knows, he's been here for 15 years. He knows what this company needs. So he's constantly teaching his own trainees, this is what we need from you. Crowd engagement. Acting a certain way, holding yourself a certain way. Keeping a level of mystique. You don't want the fans to be friends with the wrestlers in terms of they need to be kind of inaccessible. Stone Cold was never the guy in the street. He was Stone Cold. You needed to know what this guy had done. The Undertaker was the Undertaker. Nobody knew who he was. I've always believed in that, and I think most of us do. It's characters, and it's coming to a show and see people you don't usually see, and seeing things you don't normally see. And I think that's what brings people back. You're not coming for just two guys in black trunks. That's boring. You want to come see cartoon characters. You want to come see Grado. You want to come see Jester. And I think that's massively, massively important when it comes to booking a show. Yeah.
So you've mentioned death matches.
Yes.
Kind of got like a more hardcore element as an element of ICW's product. So in terms of the kind of preparation that comes in for that sort of thing, like obviously what goes behind the death match? Because obviously there's a certain level of violence there, which isn't necessarily there to pro wrestlers, violence and everything, but there's an extra element, obviously.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of funny. I'm very lucky in that I'm head of creative.
Yeah.
The guy assisting me with creative is one of the best deathmatch wrestlers in the country. So I've got that element. He's also a very creative and funny person, so we bounce to each other. But when it comes to deathmatch specifically, I can turn to him and go, "What do we need? What do you think's creative here? We've got these two guys, even if he's not doing matches. We've got Clinton, we've got Rory. What a match we're doing here." And he can kind of help me piece that together, because I've always said I sometimes feel kind of guilty. I'll come up with a great spot and I'm like, I feel guilty asking somebody to do that. They go, "Oh, that's my job." You know what I mean? But I kind of I feel weird asking someone, "Can you just fall into that barbed wire, please?" It's awkward. But they're like, "Well, that's my fucking job." But with him, I'm very lucky in that position. I've got a guy who's been wrestling for 20 years. One of his breads and butter is to do death matches. So I'm very lucky in that regard. But it takes a bit of prep. Yeah, you kind of, you want to make sure you've got all your gimmicks, your thumbtacks, your barbed wire. It's weird getting a barbed wire delivery to your work. You know what I mean? But I'm in the office and there it comes, and you buy 10,000 thumbtacks one day. And it definitely requires a wee bit extra planning. But it's definitely worth it, and also booking the right people. There's a lot of bad deathmatch wrestlers. I want to book the ones who I know are going to deliver at a certain standard and deliver something more than just hitting somebody with something, getting hit, blah blah blah.
Giving work.
Yeah, so like Clint and Rory. Clint is notorious for being violent. Rory's very creative. He's got the VCR tapes and all that kind of stuff, so it's a different element to it. And then Jester, me and him were very both big fans of Japanese 90s deathmatch stuff. So during COVID, we just watched a lot of Terry Funk and Cactus Jack matches. So for instance, in November, at Fear and Loathing, it was Jack Jester versus Aaron Echo for the title. If Jester lost, it was his retirement match. That was his last match. So the big hook there for our fans in Glasgow was it's Jester's last match. So we done a death match for it. Aaron Echo doesn't do death matches. So then you got to be creative, because it's like, right, how does he do a death match without doing the standard death match stuff? His character's very much Begbie from James So right, how do we do that? So that requires us to kind of push the boat a wee bit more than we're comfortable with. So if you watch that match, for instance, there was a Stanley knife, and he was trying to get it in Jester's eye, and then there's breaking the pint glass and scratching his arm with it, and not necessarily having a death match of here's a board with tubes and stuff on it. It was use the environment. That took a bit of planning. At the same time, Jester was actually doing pantomime in Glasgow, so he was doing that, and then having to jump into the office and go, right, what are we doing Sunday, because I'm terrified here. But that's when you need to be creative. It's okay, this guy doesn't usually do a death match, so how do you do it in a convincing fashion where fans aren't let down? Because the word death match, there's an expectation in that. So it needs to still live up to that, but it needs to be true to that person as a character. He wouldn't pull out a guitar wrapped in barbed wire. It's never going to be there. But you'll find a hammer and he'll hit you with a hammer. So that's sometimes really fun, and try to just come up with unique ways of doing these things, because people have seen that 100 times just in standard death match. So you're always trying to kind of keep things fresh. So that's how sometimes I like to put people in those situations who don't do them. I mean, like for me, I always wanted to see like Joe Coffey in a last man standing match. Joe Coffey never done that type of match. So that, you know, the first time you see Joe come out in like a pair of jeans and a t-shirt wrapping his fists up, it's like, I was intrigued to that. I've never seen this before. So again, you try and kind of capture that every so often with someone. That's pretty cool.
What is pro wrestling to you? Like, how did you get into it? What did, you know, as a fan, I mean, not as a professional involved in the business. Like, what grabbed you?
I'll tell you the exact moment. There was a guy who lived upstairs from us, a couple of years older, 3 years older maybe, and he had the VHS of WWF Final Four. Very generic pay-per-view, fairly good. But the main event had Bret Hart, Steve Austin, Undertaker, and Vader. And there was a moment in that match. I'd never seen wrestling in my life at this point. And Vader lifts a chair up, and Undertaker hits the big boot and he takes the chair to the face. And above his eye just exploded. Like, so bloody. This guy's got a mask and he's huge. I was kind of like a little closeted goth kid at that point, so the Undertaker already kind of grabbed him. He's kicked a chair into this giant guy's face. There's blood everywhere, and I was just like, I don't know what this is. This is incredible. And I watched the whole match. I couldn't tell you anything else about that match other than that moment of that chair lifted straight to the face. And since then I'm just hooked. But for me, it's just like one of the most organic forms of live entertainment you can get. It's theatre, but it's an action movie. It's a stunt show, but it's a soap opera. It melds so many things together. And I think it's a great release. You know, I've had people come to shows who are just friends of mine who don't watch wrestling, and they come just because I've done the show. And I jump out and see them half time, and they're like, this guy jumped out of a cage, and it's like, it's almost kind of trying to rope them in, and they have that moment where they go, this is really cool. Like, we were talking about this the other day. I've never seen an adult man who's never seen one before walk into a room with a wrestling ring and not go, that's just really cool. Because it's this kind of childhood thing of like, I remember that. And I think when you get an ICW thing, it's like you can kind of meld this thing you love as a kid with being an adult and going out and getting drunk and having a good time. I just think it's an amazing form of entertainment and escape for people. And I think things like that are important. I mean, especially like after COVID, if you didn't have these things, I feel like kind of screaming for the rooftops to people, like, go out and do stuff. Go see these things. These things are on your doorstep. I mean, in Glasgow, like, when people don't know about ICW, it kind of bothers me a wee bit. I'm like, you have this incredible, mad live entertainment show 5 feet from your door, and you don't even know it's there. Come and see it. And then when they come see it, they love it. I've never had anybody come to a show and go, that sounds terrible. I mean, maybe they kind of butter me up a bit, but I've never had somebody leaving going, oh my God, I'll never watch that again. It's always like, that's pretty good. Enjoyed that. For me, wrestling is one of the most organic, natural forms of live entertainment you can ask for. It's the best.
Bro,
Thanks so much.